Hello, Miss White and everyone. I'm Kim Thanh, and welcome to my presentation with Chapter 5 and Chapter 6 of Sensory Marketing. Let's start with Chapter 5, Sensory Principle for Smell. Have you wondered why the smell of fresh bread make you feel hungry, or why certain perfume instantly remind you of specific people? Today, we will explore how the sense of smell work at the deepest level and discover why it's one of the most powerful tools in marketing. The sense of smell is extraordinary. It's active even before we are born. Unborn children can start perceiving scent from food their mother ate after just 12 weeks, and this shows how fundamental smell is to human experience. So, believe it or not, smell accounts for around 80% of what people perceive as taste. Without their specific scent, brands like Coca-Cola and Pepsi would taste almost identical. This is why when you have a cold and cannot feel properly, food suddenly seems flavorless. Scent, both artificial and natural, influence our cognition, emotion, and behavior, often without us realizing it. For example, the smell of freshly baked bread can trigger an impulse to buy, even if you didn't plan to purchase anything. People who lost their sense of smell, a condition called anosmia, often experience sadness and depression. This shows how emotionally important smell is to our well-being. Throughout history, perfume have signified power and status. Ancient civilizations such as Egypt and Rome used fragrance as precious gift and in sacred rituals. Interestingly, perform position remain an elite profession today, with many of the world's top-notch, meaning professional perfume creators, still being male. Today, retailers also use scent marketing strategically, introducing ambient scent in store, increasing the amount of time customers spend shopping, encourage them to touch product more, and ultimately increase their purchase. Advanced technologies such as nebulization allow fraction to be dispersed through aerosol system and ventilation, creating controlled scent environment that stimulate customer sense. So we're moving to the characteristic of smell. So for the psychological aspect, the human nose contains approximately 5 million olfactory cells in the nasal cavity. These cells send electrical signal to the olfactory bulb, which then forward the information to the brain for interpretation. This system allows us to recognize and remember a huge variety of scents. However, smell is slower than vision. It takes about to 400 milliseconds to register a smell, compared to just 45 milliseconds for a visual image. Unlike other scents, smell is synthetic, meaning combination of scents create entirely new and sometimes unpredictable fragrance. For example, the smell of garlic frying in oil create a completely different aroma compared to garlic alone. So our perception is also influenced by trigeminal stimulation, which involves sensations such as pain, temperature, and touch. This is why mint doesn't just smell fresh, it actually feels cold. Because of this effect, many personal care products use mint or menthol to create a feeling of freshness and comfort. For example, some hygiene products such as Diana Cool Fresh Bath include a mint-like cooling ingredient as that create a refreshing sensation, which help the user feel cleaner and more comfortable. So now, moving to psychological aspect. This is where smell become especially interesting for marketing. Scents are perceived physically first and then cognitively and then emotionally. Our initial reaction, whether we like or dislike the scent, is immediate and cannot easily be conscious corrected afterward. Scents are closely linked to long-term memory. People can remember scent with remarkably high accuracy even after a full year. For example, you remember the scent of food that your mother made for you, and more importantly, olfactory stimuli evoke stronger emotional memory than visual. Auditory or tactile cue. Pleasant scent can make people feel happier and even more creative. Studies show that people perform better and feel more positive in pleasant smelling environment. However, intensity matters. A pleasant scent can become unpleasant if it's too strong, and people may adapt to background scent over time. So we're moving to olfactory perception and society culture. Olfactory perception refers to how individuals see, receive, and interpret existing olfactory cue and stimuli in the environment. In other words, it explains how people experience and understand different smells in their daily life. Olfactory perception is highly individual and personal. Each person interprets scent differently depending on experience, their memory, and also their cultural background. At the same time, smell perception is also influenced by cultural norm and social perception. Different societal culture define what is considered a good or bad scent. For example, in many parts of Southeast Asia, including Thailand, Malaysia, and Vietnam, durian is highly valued for its rich flavor and aroma. However, people from other cultures often describe its smell as similar to rotten food or garbage. This example shows that scent perception can vary differently across culture. And coming to individual preference, each person has what we call a fraction, fingerprints, a unique scent identity. People naturally prefer familiar and present scent, but cultural learning shaped the preference significantly, and whether scent preferred are learned or innate. Some researchers suggest that humans may have a natural predisposition to like or dislike certain type of odor. However, many studies show that most scent preferences are actually learned rather than innate. For instance, someone might love the smell of gasoline because it reminds of them an exciting family road trip, while another person might enjoy the scent of new book because it's linked to the joy of learning or the joy of a beginning for school. These positive associations are not in our DNA, rather, they are built over time of their experience. This suggests that our perception of pleasant and unpleasant scents develop through experience and cultural learning. So, coming to age and gender, this also influences olfactory perception. Research shows that sensitivity to scent may begin to decline around the age of 15 to 20. In some cases, they found that older shoppers were less likely to make purchases when ambient scents were introduced to store. And gender also make difference because women generally have a stronger sense of smell than men. Sensitivity can vary due to health, age, and even the menstrual cycle. Interestingly, pleasant scents like lemon do improve the alertness in environment like driving simulator. So coming to group preference, it's about a cultural variation. Olfactory preference differ dramatically across culture. Like I have said already, for another food like cheese is highly appreciated in Western Europe, blue cheese, but often seen as unroasted in Southeast Asia. What smells clean or happy in one culture might be perceived completely different in another country. And for the sense symbolism, interestingly, humans often struggle to put a name to a specific smell. This common struggle is known as the tip of the nose effect. That frustrating sensation where a scent is incredibly familiar, yet the word for it remains just out of reach. However, despite our struggle to name them, scents have a unique power to trigger immediate and intense emotional memory. This is famous known as first-gen phenomenon, named after the renowned French author Marcel Proust. In his masterpiece, like in The Search of the Lost Time, he described how the simple aroma of Madeleine cake dipped in tea instantly unlocked a flood of vivid childhood memory. Because our olfactory system is hardwired directly into the brain emotional center. A single sniff can transport us back to time more effectively than any photo sound ever could. So we're moving to service environment. We will dig deeper at them, like we use math strategically in service environment, like how. So first, we need to understand the idea of olfactory stimuli, like it refers to the scent used in an environment to influence customer emotional, cognitive, and behavioral response. Because smell is strongly connected to memory and emotion, it can make a service experience feel more concrete and memorable. However, simply having a scent is not enough. Business needs to carefully design how the scent is used in the environment, which lead to the concept of ambient scent. And ambient scents are background scents that shape how customers perceive a service environment. They are commonly used in places such as hotel, restaurant, and retail store to create a pleasant atmosphere. The goal is to make customers feel comfortable, encourage them to stay longer in the store, and potentially increase their spending. However, for ambient scent to work effectively, olfactory congruence is important. This means the scent should match the product or service being offered. For example, a flower shop may smell like fresh flower, while a bakery may emphasize the smell of freshly baked bread. When the scent matches the environment, it can significantly influence the customer mood and behavior. Research shows that pleasant and congruent scent can improve mood, increase comfort, and even encourage positive social behavior, such as helping others. And they can also influence shopping behavior by making customers spend more time in the store and evaluate product more positively. Different scents can also produce different psychological effects. For example, citrus scent can improve mood and alertness, and mint can increase the focus. Vanilla often create feeling of comfort, and lavender can help reduce anxiety. So, over time, this scent experience can go beyond immediate emotion and begin to create symbolic meaning, which is known as scent symbolism. Scent can act as symbol that trigger past memory and association. When customers repeatedly experience the same scent in a particular place, that scent may become connected to the brand or environment itself. As a result, scent become more than just a background um, element. It can become part of the brand identity and help create a stronger and more memorable customer experience. Now, let's see how brands use smell strategically for their brand and product. There are three types of scent marketing. The first type is primary product attribute, which is essential to the product, such as perfume or detergent. And the second one is secondary product attribute, which add enhancement, such as scented card. And finally, there are advertising and sale promotion measure, where scent is used as a marketing tool, such as Strat and Snip ads. However, not all scent marketing success. I want to mention about gut milk scented bus stop, which failed due to the consumer complaints. This example showed that execution mattered enormously in scent marketing, and the campaigns were not successful in enhancing product evaluation. Scent can significantly enhance the product memory and evaluation. Studies show that scented benzo or tissue improve the recall even quick later. Importantly, product-specific scent are more effectively than general ambient room scent for product memory. Some scent can even be registered as an olfactory trademark if they are distinctive enough. Examples include Verizon flowery musk scent and Janden bubble drum scented sandal. Many companies also create signature scents that are not trademarked but become strongly associated with the brand. And for the scent in advertising, one famous example of scent advertising is Smell Like McDonald campaign of McDonald. So, in this campaign, the company installed scented billboard on busy street, and interestingly, this billboard has no image, no logo, and no written advertisement. Instead, the billboard simply released the smell of McDonald's food, especially the scent of their famous McDonald's French fries. When pedestrians or drivers pass by, they could suddenly smell the familiar aroma of the fry. And this scent triggered the hunger and curiosity, encouraged people to follow the smell and locate the nearest McDonald's restaurant. This campaign demonstrates that scent alone can function as a powerful marketing tool, even without any visual communication. Now, let's move on to section 6, sensory principle for touch. Have you ever wondered or noticed how you automatically want to touch product when you are shopping, or how a firm handshake affect your impression of someone? Touch is one of the most attractive senses and play a crucial role in how we interact both physically and mentally with brand and product. Today we will explore why we try before you buy is so important. Is so powerful, and how smart company they use touch to influence our purchasing decision. So let's start with the human body and touching. Touch is absolutely crucial for human interaction with brand and product. The power of tactile information directly shapes our cognition, emotion, and purchase behavior. Touch is one of the most our active sense, often working closely with vision to give us completely information about a product and beyond visual inspection. While we can see product, touching allow much deeper investigation. When you pick up a smartphone, you're not just looking at it, you are evaluating its weight, its texture, building the quality, and how it feels in your hand. This tactile evaluation influences your trust and confidence in the product, or an impulse purchase connection to touch it that research show that touching product increase the positive attitude and can lead to impulse purchase. There is something powerful about physical contact that create a psychological ownership before you even buy, and even interpersonal touch matter in business. When staff appropriately place hand on customer like a gentle touch on the shoulder, it affects the perception of service quality and friendliness. And one of the biggest challenge in e-commerce is the absence of tactile feedback on the digital channel because you can't feel clothing fabric or test the weight of electronic online, which is why many people still prefer shopping in physical store for certain product in the digital world. So, in the characteristic of touch, for physiological aspect, the tactile or haptic sense engage through skin and body contact with object and people. The haptic system includes skin, joint, muscle, and tendon, which allow us to perceive physical characteristics such as temperature, texture, pressure, and movement. Your skin is the largest organ of the human body, covering about 2 square meters and backed with sensory receptor. Your fingertips are especially sensitive, containing thousands of nerve endings that help detect even small tactile difference. The touch receptor sends signal to the sensory cortex in the brain, where the tactile information is processed and interpreted. There's also an important distinction between active touch and passive touch. Active touch occurs when people intentionally explore object using our hand or finger. It's an exploratory process that allows us to gather more detailed information and usually create stronger impression. Passive touch, on the other hand, happens when we being touched by someone else. Passive touch can trigger the release of oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, which promote feeling of well-being, relaxation, and social connection. This is one of the reasons why tech experience can feel comfort and satisfying. Now, let's look at the psychological aspect of touch. Touch play an important role in intellectual development, empathy, satisfaction, and overall well-being. It's also an important way for people to express emotion and social connection. Interestingly, people can sometimes identify objects and even brand by touching them along. In consumer behavior, touch can be categorized into two main types: hedonic touch and instrumental touch. Hedonic touch refers to touching for pleasure, curiosity, or exploration. This is design driven and often done simply for enjoyment rather than making a purchase decision. Although it may not directly lead to purchase, it also creates a positive emotion and stronger engagement for the product. For example, a customer might pick up a luxury handbag and feel the soft leather simply for enjoyment, even if they do not plan to do it. And the second type is instrumental touch. Instrumental touch is goal oriented and occur when customer touch a product to obtain specific information such as texture, softness, durability, or functionality. For example, when shopping for jeans, people often touch the fabric to check its durability or rub it against the skin to see if it feels comfortable or not. The duration of nature of touching can significantly influence purchasing decision. And in some cases, customer may choose a product simply because it feels better, even if it is less visually appealing. And marketers often use these two types of touch strategically. For example, store may design interactive experience zones that encourage customers to explore the product through touch, stimulating hedonic interaction. And at the same time, brand often provide product sample tester so customer can evaluate product before purchasing, supporting instrumental touch. and the duration and nature of touching can significantly influence purchasing decision. And positive emotional reaction after touching a product can shape consumer attitude and buying behavior. In some cases, customer may choose a product simply because it feels better in hand, and even it's less visually appeal. The design elements such as shape, material, and surface texture can enhance the tactile experience and influence customer perception. However, in many situations, visual design can may still dominate, especially for product where appearance is highly important. Now, let's talk about the tactile perception in social culture. Touch preference and meaning vary dramatically across culture and individual. The skin acts as a boundary between the self and the outside world, making touch a powerful way to communicate social and emotional information. For individual difference, people have unique tactile preference that are often measured by the need for touch. Individuals with a high need for touch prefer hand-on evaluation before making decisions, while those with a lower need for touch may rely more on visual information. Touch is also an important way to express social relationship. Physical gestures such as handshake, hug, or friendly touch often symbolize trust and friendship, regardless of cultural background. However, physical contact rules vary across culture. In many Western countries, such as Europe and United States and Australia, a handshake is a common greeting. In some Arctic culture, people greet each other through nose rubbing. And in France, or part of the South America, greeting with a kiss on a cheek is common. While in many Asian cultures, people usually bow with minimal physical contact. These examples show how the meaning and acceptability of touch can differ differently across society. And these are also gender difference in touch behavior. Women generally have a greater need for touch and tend to use touch more for emotional communication, while men often use touch for more instrumental purposes, such as assessing product functionality or quality. In social context, anger is more likely to be communicated through touch when at least one male is involved, whereas sympathy and comfort are more often expressed by women. And finally, touch can also carry strong symbolic meaning. Touch can symbolize belonging, care, empathy, and emotional closeness in relationship about with their family and friends. On the other hand, painful or uncomfortable touch may signal rejection, disapproval, or emotional coldness. Because touch carry these powerful meaning, brands must carefully adapt their use of touch according to culture, norm, and social expectation to get the high quality result. And now, let's examine how service environment use touch strategically. The service environment like brand, restaurant, and shop, they use tactile cube through air temperature, material, tactile texture, and surface to create the specific atmosphere. Smart retailer encourage touching through signage like feel the freshness or open product display. This can engage and often lead to impulse buying because touching creates psychological ownership. However, these are a limitation for an online platform because physical touch is mostly absent in online environment, creating a significant disadvantage for digital retailer. Some customers compensate by ordering product online, evaluating them at home and returning what doesn't meet the tactile expectation. And when service staff appropriately touch the customer like a brief hand on shoulder or arm, it will increase the positive evaluation of staff store and product, especially for women. In restaurant, appropriate touch increase the time spent, the amount spent, but see friendliness and tips amount as well. So now let's see how brands use their product effectively with the touch. Tactile cue and stimuli such as hardness, softness, material, shape, texture, and weight are important elements of a brand or product identity. These tactile characteristics help consumers form impression about a product quality, durability, and value. The best way for a customer to understand this tactile property is through the haptic system, which involve physically touching and interacting with the product. In fact, the more tactile feature a product has, the more likely individual add to touch and explore it. This is why many retailers design display that encourage customer to interact with product physically. For example, in many supermarkets or retail stores, brand often place sample product next to the seal product, allowing customer to touch and feel the material before buying. This is common for products such as tissue, fabric, or cosmetic. When customer can touch and experience the product themselves, they are more likely to develop positive attitude and stronger purchase intention. Touch also play an important role in product evaluation. Research shows that individuals spend more time touching products that have many tactile stimuli. And in addition, customers often prefer evaluating real physical product rather than virtual representation because physical interaction provide richer sensory information. Based on the importance of haptic evaluation, product can be classified into three levels of touch importance. First, product. Some products have a high need for touch, meaning tactile interaction is crucial for evaluation. Example include clothing, bedsheet, sofa, soft toy, fruit like apples, and even mobile phone, where consumers want to feel the material, texture, and weight before buying. And second, there are products with more than moderate need for touch, such as below camera orange and carpet. For this product, touch is useful but not always essential. And finally, some products have low niche for touch, including items such as pen, accessory, glassware, and are certain electronic products where functional and visual features often dominate the evaluation process. For many fast-moving consumer goods, consumer perception are influenced more strongly by visual stimuli than by touch. Packaging design, color, and branding often play an essential role in shaping consumer perception in this product category. And next, an important aspect is the interaction between touch and other sense, especially vision. Vision and touch often work together when consumers evaluate product. In many situations, the visual system dominates in receiving sensory information. But for highly tactile products, such as clothing, furniture, fabric, or paper, touch becoming essential because the surface property provide information that cannot fully evaluated visually. Touch can also create symbolic meaning, a concept known as touch symbolism. Touch symbolism refers to the process whereby touching a product or object create meaning in the consumer mind. For example, heavier furniture is often perceived as being more durable and valuable. Similarly, a heavy architectural sample portal may suggest higher quality or a premium product. Through tactile design, packaging, and product material can communicate important brand message about the quality, the durability, and product benefit. Brand also create haptic experience by involving customer in touch-based activity that are directly connected the product to the product evaluation. For example, beauty retailer like Sephora often offer the free contouring or makeup tutorial, allowing customers to physically touch and test cosmetic product before buying or purchasing. This experience help customers feel, evaluate the texture, application, and feel the product. Importantly, the product should match customer expectation or it should how it should feel because tactile experience strongly influence satisfaction and purchase decision. In addition, brands increasingly use haptic technology to stimulate tactile sensation through digital device. Haptic technology involves using pressure, vibration, texture, or motion feedback to create a sense of touch in technology product. For instance, Apple Watch use a haptic engine that produce gentle tap when user press button or receive notification. And this subtle tactile signal enhances user interaction and make digital experience feel more natural and engaging. That's all of our presentation. Thank you for listening.